Hello, and welcome to this week's Faculty Lounge Live. I'm your host, Vini Araujo, one of the multimedia producers here at the Center for Online and Continuing Education. Joining me today in the lounge is a special guest from the College of Business. Um, and I'm excited to have you here, James.
Thanks. JB Ward, everybody. I'm one of the instructors in the hospitality and tourism management program. We are part of the marketing department in the College of Business.
Yeah, well, today we have a lot to dive in. We're going to be talking about the media, building in your course, HFT videos. And before we get into it, just maybe tell us a little bit about yourself.
I have about 20 years experience in industry, and then I've been on the education side for about 20 years as well. So one of the things that I think that our department does a really nice job of doing is that all of my colleagues, my fellow faculty members, come with that industry background. So as much as possible, we try to incorporate that into our classes. So in the case of myself, it's pretty heavy food and beverage, but I've also worked in private country clubs, event planning. I've worked in hotels as well. So we are a unique also in the sense that we have subject matter experts, but as much as possible, we try to kind of rotate around the courses that we're able to teach, if at all possible. Again, obviously hospitality law, some with the JD, but we try to mix it up as best we can.
Awesome. So before we go into talking about like the media behind your courses, I do want to talk about HFT videos and what that is. So maybe just explain to the audience or viewers what the HFT videos are and how they play a role in the education of the students at FAU.
So a few years ago, we had an idea. Dr. Peter Ricci, our program chair, had an idea where in South Florida, there's a very large hospitality industry, as you can imagine, in the state of Florida. I mean, we've looked at record growth pretty much as far as incoming visitors and revenue for a very long time. So one thing that happened initially was we started a free listserv to post positions to essentially our database. So if there's a company that is looking for someone to work an entry-level position or even higher, they will reach out to us and say, would you mind posting this open position for us? That started probably a little over a decade ago, and we've had about 1,600 companies that have hired our students, and the database probably has about 3,000 people in it. So that initial outreach was great because we could link up with alumni, current students, not just current students in hospitality, but current business students that are minoring or majoring in hospitality, earning a certificate, or just curiously taking one of our courses and kind of expose them to that. And it was great. And we still get hundreds of emails every week with those positions. We then decided that some of our really, really entrenched industry partners, one benefit of that is kind of how we look at curriculum and making sure that the content we're exposing our students to is as relevant as possible. But then we came upon this idea through working with COSI to see if we could expand on that. So initially what happened was, much like we're doing right now, we would reach out to one of our partners and sit down and have a conversation. The thought process was that a lot of students don't know what they don't know. And we're going to sit down with someone and have a conversation. And a lot of that first conversation, I think, was tell us about yourself. And a lot of people in the industry that we're in, their career paths don't have a straight line, and they may not have, quote unquote, majored in our field. So that's important to expose our students to. And we sat down and did an interview. The first one that we did was 13 minutes long, and it was too long because the attention span and the point that we were trying to get across to our students wasn't this long form interview. Now, I will say we do those long form interviews in our courses, and we'll talk about that, I'm sure, at some point. So then we realized that the focus should be on the individual and the corporation and the culture of the organization and what they're looking for. So your team and myself go to various locations, and we try to interview 3 to 4 team members, if possible. But the goal is to have a 3 to 4 minute video that basically introduces our students to that organization so that when there is a link for an open position, it's not just like click here to apply.
Exactly.
There's a face to the name. And honestly, it's probably more relatable to our students because a lot of those individuals may have gone to FAU or look a lot more like them than we do.
Yeah, and I think that's the really good thing about these videos. Like in my time that I've been here, every person that we interview, you hear their story and you see like they didn't start in that department. They started maybe maybe somewhere else in a completely different field, and they landed where they are today. So for the student, like you said, like if I'm gonna get my, my degree in hospitality, and you can see real life examples of people like, hey, I started, let's say, front desk, I worked my way up all the way to, let's say, director of human resources, or sometimes it's like this crazy shift
Yeah.
from where they started into where they are now. And that gives just a practical example of like, hey, like this is possible.
So many of us, I think, have those stories of 20 years ago. If you asked me if I'd be doing this, the answer would be
Yeah.
no, not even remotely. So that journey is a lot of what we try to capture with our students is, we've literally had people say, I sat in class where you're sitting right
Hmm.
now and thought that I knew what I wanted to do until someone came in and exposed me to something that I never even knew existed. And that is a lot of that thing. And also, we're fortunate in that the quality of work that you guys do when you come out with us, I think people sit down. Like if I was sitting down with somebody
Hmm.
right now who'd never done it, their nervous thing is, I have to talk for 3 minutes on camera. You don't. You're going to be on camera for about 45 seconds. The
Exactly.
rest of that video is going to be B-roll showcasing your operation and your facilities so that students also get a glimpse of what you do
Hmm.
and the environment that they would be working in.
Yeah. So, how has HFT videos impacted the perception of hospitality careers among students and potential students? So, like maybe talk to us about the shifts and their interests after watching this video. Do you see like the students saying, "No, I might pursue something else," after hearing someone's story? Because we've interviewed from restaurants to hotels to country clubs. So maybe talk about a little bit about that.
I think it is kind of what we alluded to a little bit earlier. It's exposing them to things that they didn't know, right? And they have this picture in their mind of what they think something's going to be. And then they see just the actual operation and what that individual does within that organization. And I think that it kind of opens their eyes like, oh, I'm going to go work for a casino. So
Yeah.
I'm going to basically work, in the cage. And then they meet the director of operations, they meet the director of human resources, and they understand that that operation's much bigger than they ever imagined, is one example. And I think from a quality standpoint, the thing that did not surprise us at all is how impressed the organizations are with the work that we do, the work that the team here does, the quality where we have them asking them if they can put those videos on the corporate website for their organization. And
Yeah.
they use those as promotional tools, not just here, but everywhere that they're trying to recruit. Sometimes it's a lot of work on our end to get it exactly where they want it. But hey, can we put our logo on this? And can we, when
Yeah.
you log onto our website, can people see these videos? Of course, that's what we're doing them for. Yes, we want you to come here and hire our students, but yes, that's the whole point of that is that exposure.
Yeah. And when you talk to the students, I know that there's the page, the employer partner page. Is that something that you just directly send to them? You'll be like, here's the link, watch these videos you know, from this hotel.
Right.
Or is it a constant like update, like, hey, we just got a new video or we just got a new partner?
We direct them to it. I think the other way that they work kind of in tandem is if so I just I look Seminole Hard Rock. If Seminole Hard Rock said, we have the following open positions. What we try to do to our listserv is send that position out, and then we include the links
I
for
see.
the employee partner page so that it's relevant. Instructors will tell you probably the same thing that most parents would tell you, that students and kids listen to everybody but us first. That's our running joke. But something that gets their interest beyond what we're talking
Mhm.
about in class that enhances. And those videos, yes, they're good for that. They're also really good to enhance content in our classes as well. So
So let's talk about maybe like the effort, like collaborative efforts. So I know, you know, we handle the media when it comes to creating those videos, but how does it work with these industries, like these companies? Like, do you guys like how does that work?
so our key partners reach out.
Yeah.
Um, and essentially it's probably just a conversation with Dr. Ricci about, hey, we're really interested in hiring some students. And then we float the idea of the videos. And for we've done it so long, it's like a second language for the two of us.
Hmm.
But basically, we reach out to them and say, we're going to come into your establishment and be there for probably half a day. And we need to allocate about 30 minutes to every team member you want to identify. We don't ask to identify. We send you some ideas. Like department heads are great. If they're FAU grads, that's a home run for us.
Hmm.
But what we're looking for are people that can convey the culture of this organization and what it's all about. So then I reach out and send out a series of pretty standard open-ended questions so we don't get yes, no's on
Yeah.
videos and the videos are 30 seconds
Yeah.
long. And it really is what we talked about. Tell us about yourself and tell us about your background. Those two things to me are the hook, if you will, that gets people in. Because as we said, most of them are not like, I started here, I
Uh-huh.
knew this is what I was going to do, and I did it. And then we just talk about what they do in their role, kind of like we said before. Hey, I'm the director of food and beverage operations. What does that mean? What do you do every day? And that's also a running joke because you've been with us is every day's different in our industry. And
Mhm.
that's the thing that's great about our industry is that you're never bored. It's really exciting. But describe to us what not a typical day is like, but describe to us what you do when you come into work. So now the students are getting a feel of what that title means. They're kind of understanding how that title works within the organization. As you said, they're seeing how this person started on the ground floor and
Yeah.
worked their way up. It's critical that students see promotion capabilities within these organizations and how, and we hear this a lot. Like I started here and someone approached me and said, you should move up, but we want to move you here. And we want to, like, we hear this all the time. So then they see all of those components together. And that I think draws interest, like I said, more than just here's an application. Go to a
Exactly.
website.
Yeah, because I can imagine, like, if I'm a student, and I'm progressing into my career, and I now see these videos firsthand, like, it would get me excited, because an application is one thing, but then if I see the application followed by a video of how that person got to where it is, that might be like my goal. It's like, okay, if this person was able to reach here, like maybe that's something that I need to pursue.
If you are going to minor or major in our program, and this is pretty standard fare for any
Hmm.
hospitality program, you're going to have to accumulate some work hours before you graduate. So really, when we start off, if you're a freshman and you're taking one of our intro courses, the goal is to get you interested in the industry, and the goal is for you to start accumulating those hours. Now, in a perfect world, you see a video and you work for that company as a freshman. Well, it would make sense that after 4 years of working there, you've accumulated the hours that you need for your degree, and that company has worked with you for 4 years. So it would make sense for them to keep you on and move you into a career path. But also, I think at the beginning, if it's something that you're not sure about and you try, and maybe after a year, you're like, I'm not really sure if this is what I want to do, then you're still pursuing your studies. And we can try to see if there's something else that may be more in line with what you're thinking, as opposed to finishing and then going, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
So the path of earning those hours via internships or just standard
Hmm.
work hours is something that we see as really beneficial. And that's where I think the videos really sell it.
Exactly. And have you heard any, like, maybe feedback from these hotels or employers regarding these videos, and even the graduates that apply or are
Yeah.
working, like, maybe share
Our
with us?
partners love the videos. They think that they are just the quality is unmatched. And to be completely honest, they would pay a lot more money to have it done privately, a
Mhm.
lot more money. And I think the students comment a lot about it just makes it more relatable to sit there and listen to the story. Yeah, I mean, in a perfect world, they're standing in front of our students telling a story as well. When that can't happen, we can go out and give the students a look at how this person got to where they are,
Yeah.
and they know.
So I want to shift a little bit of our conversation, talk about a little bit of our online learning, just like the media that goes behind it. So we've worked together on a couple courses, and one of the things that you did that was really exciting was on location shoots. Right, we would go to local, country clubs, hotels, and you wanted really to incorporate those videos. So, and these videos were, let's say, an interview with industry, professionals, and even you just in the lobby or right outside the building and saying like, "Hey, I'm here. welcome
Yeah,
to this
yeah,
course.
yeah.
We're going to be talking about this, So,
That's by the way, that's something that we love is that introduction where I was standing in the
exactly.
case of what we're talking about for my club course, Boca West Country Club. And just to incorporate that, the student's first contact with the course is me standing at this incredible facility talking about, hey, what you're going to learn. And if anybody hasn't done this before, basically there's a prompter that I'm reading. So like if you want to sit there and read off all of your course objectives, naturally, don't
Yeah.
make it sound wooden, but you can sit there and kind of say, this is what you're going to learn in this class. The difference between online learning here with what you guys do is the ability to do that. All of my colleagues in our program have used those on-site interviews for just about every course that we teach. We've all gone through the process of building with you. A couple of us have gone even further to Quality Matters. That supplemental material is exactly a 25-minute interview with the director of a multi-million-dollar facility is a lot better than, reading it in a book
Mhm.
or looking at a PowerPoint slide to
Exactly.
review and seeing. It's like this. Remember what we were talking about in class last week? Let's watch a video where we talk to somebody who's actually done that. So we can expand on that a little bit more and talk about things that are specific to their operation, like controlling cost and how does this work? And you've read about this report and how do you guys incorporate this report into your daily operations? So yeah, if we're there doing the short videos, that's great. But also traveling and just sitting down and having a conversation like we are with someone in industry and saying, tell us more about what this is and what you do and what's the competition like
Yeah.
and how what's the plan moving forward. We're doing a $50 million renovation. Wait, what? How did you pay for it,
Hmm.
and what does that mean? And if you're a member driven club, how did you get your member? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like things like that they're pretty open with sharing, because at the end of the day, the industry is, it is what it is, and there's a lot of collaboration. So as we said, if the students don't know that, they find those to be invaluable resources of, it was really cool to hear this video with
Hmm.
Vinny, where Vinny talked about running this organization.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's really about trying to get outside of these four walls. Like this studio, right? Our lounge is great. And we're able to record lectures and have PowerPoint presentations. But what you just said now, it's like the students would never know. They don't hear it from these industry professionals. So maybe tell us what advice would you give faculty who are sort of like hesitant to reach out to, leading professionals or maybe someone in the field to do these sort of interviews? What advice would you give them?
I mean, I would show them some of the work that we've done to start. And I would just kind of say, whatever field you're in, hey, this is an example of what some of my colleagues at the university are doing. And like, I know that your company works really well with our program and they want to hire a lot of our students. We think this is a great way to market what you're doing and kind of show them. Like, field trips are great. If we can take our
Hmm.
students on field trips, those are phenomenal. And we do that too. If we can't do that, then how do we show someone this organization or this field or this major and what it's going to be like? So if you can work with partners, and I would say, I'm sure that everybody's watching this and a lot of people at this university, we have partnerships. So how do we get out there and maximize those partnerships for mutual benefit, right? For us and for them, so that they can say, this person is doing what we think you want to do. And here's their story. And as I said, like long form interviews are great. So are 2-minute commercials, honestly. And that's what
Yep.
they are. They're little commercials of, you should work here and here's why. And as I said, the students love them.
Yeah. Maybe I think at the end of the day, like also they can always come here,
Yep.
we've done situations where it's virtual interviews, or also like podcast style. So you don't always have to travel and be in
Right.
their area, but they can always come here if that's easier. I think we have a question from our audience.
Yes, this is a question from Sierra. Question for Dr. Ward. What is your favorite aspect about the field of hospitality?
Sierra, I would say that it's a lot of fun and it's never really boring. So there are always opportunities. Part of the roles that we do is we go and speak to high school students. So in the counties of Palm Beach, Broward, and Miami-Dade, there are a very large number of high school programs that teach culinary and hospitality. And the first thing I say to students all the time is, if you're as flexible as you can be, the opportunities are limitless. Because a lot of us want to say, I want to stay in this area, I want to work in this area, or, my roots are here. But if you're flexible, then the world is your oyster with hospitality. The things that you can do. And just because right now the guest service aspect is so important that I didn't say this earlier. We're not just getting recruiting things from hospitality organizations. We're getting them from every business you could imagine because the guest service component is something that has fallen off a little bit for a couple of obvious reasons from a couple of years ago, but just in general. So they're always reaching out to our students going, we understand they have this skill set already. We can teach them how to work in this organization. What we can't teach them is how to interact with other people. So that's big. I hope that answered your questions.
Yeah, that's a really good question. And it's those practical skills that we're trying to, show these students, whether they're in high school or in college right now. So maybe, I don't know if you have any feedback or like specific examples of certain on location shoots that we've done and students have told you like, hey, JB, this one like really helped me or really
I
um
think that Ocean Reef is one we did not too long ago, which sufficiently blew our minds. But again, just the fact that when people hear the word club, they think, okay, people play golf
mhm,
and they eat dinner and they have breakfast. This is a city, man, and it was beyond anything that I'd ever seen, and it was absolutely mind blowing. And
yeah,
I think that really opened up our students' eyes to realize that yes, there are places that you can play golf and have dinner, but then there are places like that that are just, quite frankly, otherworldly. And there's a lot of them, and there's a lot of them in this area.
yeah,
So that exposed them to something I don't think they knew about.
yeah. I've definitely left mind blown when they said they had their own airport.
Yeah. I think
So
they said the largest private airport in the US, which is really crazy. So
yeah.
yeah.
I think we got another question from our viewers.
Yeah, this one's from Tanya. Hi, Dr. Ward. Could you please talk about one success story you may have from a previous student, kind of like where they are now?
Sure. So this is kind of how we tie everything together. One student that we had, so the experiential learning part of what we try to do as much as we can, videos are part of it. And I just mentioned the club class. So Dr. Ricci started it, and I've been teaching it now for a little while. We take our students out to clubs. And then there's an event that we have where they tour the facility, which again, if you don't know, they're throw a rock and try to hit a country club here. It's not hard to do, but they're phenomenal places. And then 10 of our partner clubs will come in and they take a tour, they feed them. And then I jokingly call it speed dating. Every student has to go interview with every club for 5 minutes. And then all of those students are offered an opportunity at the end of that thing. So we just had a recent student who did that, I believe, last fall, who's now an assistant food and beverage director. He had seen the videos, and then on top of that, supplementing that with that in-class experience that we do, which we do for a lot of our classes, I think that kind of cemented the deal. And I will tell you point blank, he's like a lot of students. He did not know anything about clubs. I don't even know if he was focused on clubs. He was not a quote unquote hospitality major either, but he saw an opportunity and went for it. And so far, so good. Still new, but he loves it.
Yeah, those stories obviously are like encouraging here because you see like how much of an impact not only the videos but like the type of things that you and Peter do, like this speed dating, right? Like these short interviews. Like I got to witness that, and just to get your foot in the door is these days are not easy. So you create that opportunity for these students right there, especially by taking this course.
We teach, so we have to have content that we have to cover and things that need to get done in the course of 16 weeks or 8 weeks or 4 weeks, whatever your format is for your classes. But we will always try to incorporate anyone that wants to come and speak to our students or anywhere we can go to showcase these types of operations to our students. So I think we have, it's a pretty large number of groups that are coming to visit our classes this semester, and that's pretty typical for us. So getting them in, you'll see them in Schonstein Pavilion in front of the College of Business and a table like you would see anywhere else if you went to an event. But they're also walking into all of our classes and kind of what we've talked about today of telling their stories and then talking about the opportunities that exist. You know, the number one private employer in Florida is hospitality. Top industries in the state. The opportunities are there. And it's exposing the students to the opportunities that they're just, like I said, the blinders are on. Well, I think it's
Mhm.
just this. And like, you know, our name is broad for a reason because you can go to other schools and there can be tracks that you can follow. I specifically want to do this and I specifically want to do this. We focus on the core business aspect of it. And then we go a little bit further in depth with our courses. But that's a unique thing. The only one in the state, one of few in the country that have a true business
Wow.
background, which I think is very marketable
Yeah.
to, like I said, organizations, not just hospitality, but outside of hospitality.
Absolutely. So my last question for you is, what's next, right? For the College of Business, Hospitality, and Tourism Management, what is next for you, for Peter Ricci, for HFT videos, for
Well, we're going to
online
work with you
courses?
guys and try to one up what we've already done, I hope. I mean, I think that as much content as we can put into our courses supplementally for our students is fantastic.
Mhm.
When someone reaches out to us and says, hey, we have this great idea, or we think your students should be aware of this, well, how can we get that message to them? Can you come to our class? If you can't come to our class, can we come to you? And can we have you talk about what's happening as current as we can make it? You know, I mean, and the information's there in some books. Books are old once they're released. They're like when you buy a car, it's kind of that thing.
Yeah.
So how can we go out and figure out? So I had my students at a casino
Mhm.
a couple weeks ago that is undergoing a massive renovation. So to get them exposure to this is what it looks like now. This is what it's going to look like. Here's the history of what it used to
Mhm.
look like, which was a harness racing track. And now we're basically trying to revitalize a small city through this, for lack of a better word, complex that we're building. They don't know that, right? They don't understand that. We were very fortunate in that meeting to have a regional vice president to come in, and then he just spent 30 minutes talking about, we just opened up a place in this state and you wouldn't believe the laws. And I'm like, they wouldn't. So why don't you tell them about the laws in that state? And he's like, well, you know, and then he went off. And that's great classroom stuff. That's stuff that really, I think, interests them and intrigues them, that goes above and beyond what we can do. And we can do a lot, right? We have a lot of experiences we can bring into
Yeah.
them, which is great. But reaching out across the aisle with our hands to those partners and saying, you don't understand the resource. Like I tell people all the time that go speak with me at high schools, you don't realize the impact that that makes
Yeah.
when you go in and they hear your story. And it really does. Like it can turn someone that's on the fence or not sure, will turn them in the direction of our industry, which is what we want. So hearing those stories from them really kind of makes them perk up. It just like with the club and that young person. I can tell you before that class started, I
Yeah.
have no idea if he thought about it. I'm glad he did now and it's working out for him. But who knows? But what if we didn't do
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to what the next season holds for your college and your department, most importantly, because we work obviously really
that?
close when it comes to that. And ultimately, every time when you tell us, hey, we're going to be reaching out to such and such, we know that, hey, we want to go. We want to be a
And
part of it.
and I'll do a shameless plug for this program. These guys are absolutely incredible and they make us look really good. But I honestly think that there's this nervousness on behalf of the people that we visit because they just don't know what we do.
Hmm.
They can look at the videos and they think, okay, but that's not us. And
Yeah.
I'm really nervous. And we'll see they have these scripted answers. And we're
Mhm.
like, we don't want scripted answers. We want to have a conversation with you that's going to get shrunk down. While we're talking, I think you've been looking at some of the videos that we've done. That's what we want to focus on. Tell us your story. Look at this beautiful place that you work and look
Mhm.
at the opportunities that exist for our students and what you guys have done. And I think you would agree with me in the last, even the change from when we
Yeah.
started to where we are now is
Yeah.
just unbelievable. And as I said, like the people that reach out to us and say, oh my God, like this is crazy what you guys
Mhm.
can do and how amazing it looks. So if you're out there and you're watching and you've never taken advantage, um, even if you just wanted to interview somebody for a class for 20 minutes here or somewhere else, look, I love to run them all over the place. I love to run them ragged. And so far they haven't told us no. But the on location thing, we're very fortunate where what we do and the locations are just
Mhm.
spectacular. And so it's really cool to show those off. And sometimes we're told we can't shoot here and you can't do this, and which we understand for privacy reasons. But these places like to show off too, and they understand that their operations are the selling point. So exposing their students to it, our students to it, is great.
Awesome. Well, if you don't have any more questions, I think that's all the time we have for today's session. JV, I do want to thank you so much for taking the time to share your expertise and just give us some insight in your field. But also thank everyone that joined us, all of our viewers. Thank you so much for being here today. We hope that this discussion brings some insight for all of you. And yeah, if you are interested in viewing any of our previous discussions, feel free to go to our YouTube channel. That way you can see all of our talks that we had with other faculty. And yeah, I think that's it for today.
And if any, I was told that they were going to go in and digitally give me a full head of hair. So if that did not happen, please make sure that they understand that that was part of the deal.
I'll let our producer know.
Appreciate that. Thanks for the time. I appreciate it.
Take care, everyone.